Hey guys! This year, Double Dragon 1 will be 30 years old. 30! To celebrate, here we have Double Dragon 4, which just came out. I know it's hard to understand this now, since beat 'em ups is a genre that hasn't really managed to catch any mainstream success in decades, but back in the late 80s, Double Dragon was a pretty big deal. Everyone knew about it. It was a really cool game that inspired countless classics in the genre, and it eventually led to sequels, spin-offs, a movie, comics, and TV shows. Before starting this review, I think I should mention that while I did grow up with Double Dragon, my fandom for the NES ports is actually a very recent affair. To be honest, I used to pretty much hate the port of the first game as it had no two-player co-op and the graphics were less than impressive compared to its arcade big brother. I actually never even bothered with parts 2 and 3 until about 3 or 4 years ago, when I played them for the first time. Having played through them again very recently, I can easily say that the NES Double Dragons were the best versions of each game, and they aged incredibly well, unlike the arcade originals. They are satisfying, wonderful, innovative games that are only bested by Super Double Dragon and Double Dragon Advance. I just wanted to say this to make it clear that A. I still frequently play NES games nowadays, including ones which I never even touched when I was a kid, and B. Nostalgia is not the reason that I enjoy them. With this out of the way, now let me tell you about Double Dragon 4. This game is so fucking weird. Back when I saw the reveal trailer, I thought that it looked really trashy, with sprites stolen from previous games, crappy sounding music, and backgrounds that had zero sense of aesthetic. I mean, what is this even supposed to be? Square rocks? Buildings off in the distance? But they also said that some of the original team members and creators who worked on the original Double Dragon were behind this. So here I thought, wow, this game looks really bad, but they're reviving a really good franchise and they're getting some key people involved. There's just no way they could be so careless as to ruin this. Yet here we are. The game is out, and it feels so uninspired. It really couldn't be any less ambitious, even if it tried. The graphics, like I mentioned earlier, barely even try. It's ugly, and it gives the game a very cheap look. But at least it does its job, I guess. The screen tear that happens throughout the entire game, on the other hand, is actually nauseating and really makes it hard to enjoy anything. The music almost fares better. The game gives you the option to play with MIDI and 8-bit versions of the soundtrack, which is a nice touch, but most of it is bland and there's very little of it, with a lot of the stages recycling music from previous stages. Not that you'd be able to enjoy it even if it were any good, as it's drowned by some really annoying sound effects. The sound effects barely even fit with anything shown on the screen, and the way it loops and overlaps each other makes it sound like there's something seriously wrong with the game, as if the data was corrupted or something. Okay, so the game looks horrible, and it sounds annoying, and it's buggy, but it's Double Dragon, so it has to at least play great, right? Well, to be honest, it's actually not too bad in this regard. You have a nice variety of moves that you can do, and it has two-player co-op. That said, like everything else, it leaves a lot to be desired. For starters, the intensity of the game is all over the place. Early on, you barely fight anyone, and there's a lot of dead space between the few enemies that you fight. You're mostly waiting for them to even show up. Then, later on, the game decides to throw a bunch of enemies together all at once, some which throw a lot of crap at you or do devastating combos, and it's kind of annoying. There's really no happy middle ground at any point, which I think is where the old Double Dragons found themselves. Boss battles are also really repetitive, as you tend to fight the same boss over and over again at the end of many stages. The game also brings back platforming segments. They're not too bad, certainly nowhere near as annoying as those in the original 3 games, but again, just like the rest of the game, they make little sense. At least you can have enemies run into spikes, and that's always satisfying. Finally, we have the cutscenes. Double Dragon always had a story, despite most of the games not really making it a focus. And this one has dialogues between the brothers and the defeated bosses at the end of every stage. Well, not much to say here either, as the dialogue isn't as colorful as it was in the mobile Double Dragons, and all of them are basically about telling you where to go next. Oh yeah, and the ending is cringe-worthy bad. So there you have it, Double Dragon 4. It looks bad, it sounds bad, it has a passable story, and the gameplay and design are both all over the place. Sadly, not the revival that the series deserved. I'm not even sure what the purpose of this game is. Modern players couldn't care any less, and fans of retro games have better games they could be playing instead, like any of the previous Double Dragons. Oh well, it is a sad day for retro gaming. Well, what do you guys think? If you play Double Dragon 4 and you discover a crazy reason that somehow makes this game amazingly fun, by all means, let me know. If you like this video, don't forget to like and or subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, do leave them in the comment section below. Well, until next time.